Yes, a very good morning to all. Our today's topic is pteridophytes. Pteridophyta is our today's topic. If you recall, in the last lecture, we discussed about bryophytes. We move on to the next group under the cryptogams. This is called pteridophyta. Well, from the evolutionary point of view, these are the first terrestrial plants. If you recall, bryophytes were amphibious. They were considered amphibious plants because water was essential for their reproduction, sexual reproduction. Compared to them, the pteridophytes, many of them can grow completely on land, and some of them can grow actually without water. They can perform reproduction even without water. So in that context, we can consider that they are the truly terrestrial organisms. Majority of them depend upon water for their sexual reproduction, even in pteridophytes. But few have started living the purely terrestrial life, even without water. Sexual reproduction proceeded, or reproduction at least proceeded in them. This makes them to be known as purely terrestrial, first group over there, with vascular tissue. They are the first tracheophytes. Tracheophytes term is employed for those which possess conducting tissues or vascular tissues such as xylem and phloem. They are the first one in which such conducting tissues are present over there. So they are the first tracheophyte organisms. Their importance, well, apart from their ecological importance, as they are the producers, they are also going to be the part of ecological succession. But other than that, from the human's point of view, if you see, many of them are having medicinal importance. Many of them are having medicinal importance also. Some of them, they have ornamental values. What do we mean by ornamental value? Well, they are used as a decorative plants in our terrace, in our gardens, in our houses. The attractive decorative plants which we grow, these are one of them. Particularly the ferns are ornamentally important pteridophytic plants over there. Some of them are soil binders, or even many of them are soil binders. What do we mean by soil binders? When they grow, their shallow root system spreads horizontally and holds the soil firmly. This helps in prevention of soil erosion against running water. So they are used as a soil binders, helpful in maintaining the soil fertility, preventing its erosion. Where do we find them? Again, they are also, some of them are also like a ceophytes, preferring cool, damp, shady places. Just like bryophytes, some of them are ceophytes, which means they prefer shady place. Cool, damp, shady places are their preferred choice. But yes, some of them are able to grow in an open sunlight, intense sunlight. So they can flourish even in open conditions. Some of them can grow even in a sandy soil, maybe grow kar sakte. So they occupy different types of terrestrial habitats. They are versatile in that context, unlike that of the bryophytes. If you remember, the Bryophyta group was divisible into two main groups of bryophytic plants, liverworts and mosses. I hope you recall that part. Now here, you can see the two main groups under the Pteridophyta. One of them that is termed as horsetails. One of them is known as horsetails. Example, Equisetum and other such plants. And second category is called as ferns. So the pteridophytes have been divided into two major categories. Horsetails, example Equisetum, and ferns, example Nephrolapis and others. So two major varieties under them. They are the pteridophytes. Now, if you see their body, opposite to that of opposite to that of the bryophytes, where main body was gametophytic thallus. Here the main body is sporophytic one. This is the sporophytic body, which has been differentiated into roots, stem, and leaves. First time the body is differentiated into root, stem, and leaves, because first time the conducting tissues are apparent in any plant group. So that's why we can consider these structures as the true root, true stem, and true leaves over there. ये जो term rhizome लिखा है, it is for the modified stem only. So yes, first trichophytes and first one which have a very well differentiated root, stem, and leaves over there. First time, not very well, but first time such structures appear over there. In these plants, leaves can occur in two different patterns. In one case, that is Selaginella plant and other varieties of pteridophytes, leaves are quite small in size. Leaves are there, but they are extremely small in size. Such small leaves are called as microphylls. Mind you, this thing, the term microphyll refers to small leaves. PHYLL, phyll refers to leaves, micro refers to small. So plants such as Selaginella, Marsalia, etc., their leaves are very small in size. So we consider them as the pteridophytes which possess microphylls over there. The other varieties, such as ferns, varieties of ferns, they have leaves which are larger. We call this large leaves as macrophylls. Like in case of Adiantium, in Nephrolapis, varieties of ferns, their leaves are compared to the microphylls, they are large enough, and we consider them as macrophylls. Macro refers to large, phyll refers to leaves over there. The life cycle. Now, before I go to the life cycle of these organisms, a quick recap about these plants. Point number one, in evolutionary history of the evolutionary context of the plants or plant evolution point of view. What's the speciality of these organisms? They are the, yes, both are correct, Jayati and Shreya. They are the first tracheophytes and first terrestrial plants. Because some members at least started living on land without water. So that's the first terrestrial group and first group amongst the plants which possessed conducting tissue, the vascular tissues, xylem and phloem. So we consider them as the true tracheophytes. Next, what is the importance of these plants to the mankind? For mankind, which way are they useful? Some are having medicinal importance. Some are used as for medicinal purpose. Even as a soil binders means holding the soil firmly, preventing its erosion. And for some, there is an ornamental value. Decorative plants, plants useful in gardens and such places, they are ornamental plants. Most of them are found in which kind of habitat? Cool, damp places, ceophytic life they live. But some of them started living in open places with a soil which is sandy in nature. Which two main groups are included in them? The two major groups of pteridophytes we can work out. Yes, they are horsetails, example Equisetum, and there are ferns, example Dryopteris, Nephrolapis, Edientium, etc. The two main groups in which the group is Pteridophyta is divisible. Well, the main body is which body? Unlike the bryophytes, here the main body is which one? Sporophytic body. वहां पे गैमेटोफाइट मेन बॉडी था, मेन फेज था, स्पोरोफाइट सब्सिडरी था. यहाँ पे स्पोरोफाइट इज द मेन फेज and gametophyte is the subsidiary phase. Body is very well differentiated into which part? The sporophytic body is very well differentiated into which parts? Yeah, the true roots, stems, and leaves. And now in them, some of them possess very small leaves, like in case of Selaginella. Leaves are extremely small. We call them as which leaves? Microphyls, that's correct. And in other cases, the leaves are quite large compared to the microphyls. They are called as, yes, macrophyls, like in case of ferns. Let's see straight away the life cycle in which asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction back to back in sporophytic life and gametophytic life. Have a look at the life cycle of one of the organism under this category of pteridophytes. The fern organism, the Nephrolapis is the name of this fern, and look at its life cycle. The main body over here is a sporophytic body, which is having root stem and leaves. Root Sorry for the distance. Life cycle of the fern we are going to talk about. This is the sporophytic phase. Am I audible to you all? Am I audible? Okay, fine. Thank you. Now see the sporophytic life over here with a root stem and leaves very well developed. For asexual reproduction, these leaves produce spores. Because the leaves produce spores, so these are called as sporophyll. Spore producing leaves. Phyll term is for leaves. So when you say sporophyll, it means the leaves that produce spores, we consider them as sporophylls. I will show you the diagram of a picture of a sporophyll. Look at this one. These are the sporophylls. As you can see, the leaves on their lower surface, they have specialized chambers like these. You can see that. Yes, ma'am.
Sir, your voice is very low.
Okay. What can we do? Okay, I'll try. Am I audible now properly?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So I was discussing about the leaves which produce the spores. Here is the picture of the leaves. On their lower surface, on their ventral surface, they have specialized chambers in which they produce spores. We consider this as the sporophylls. These are to be called as sporophylls. There are two possibilities regarding the sporophylls. Number one, sporophylls may be just individual leaves which may be having the spores on their lower surface, or they may be forming clusters, which we will discuss about later on. Those clusters of sporophylls are called as cones or strobili. Now, for time being, we forget about it. We just focus on fact that a sporophytic life, a sporophytic phase of the life in these plants, at a maturity, leaves on their ventral surface will produce spores. Spores are produced in some bag-like structures which are called as sori. Plural is sori, individual one is sorus. These are sori. Any one if you talk about, then it will be known as sorus. It will be known as sorus, any one of them. I have shown you that structure sorus. On the back side of the leaves, brown color kidney shaped structures were there. They are called as sori. These are called sori. They are present on the lower side of the sporophylls. If you take a sectional view of this, if you look at the sectional view of this sorus, have a look. That brown color structure in a section. In a sectional view of that brown color structure, these are called as sporangia. These are known as what? Sporangia. Individual one is sporangium. Each one is a sporangium. This is called as sorus. Sectional view of sorus. And inside this there are sporangia. Inside this sporangia there are spore mother cells. We are coming back to the life cycle where we saw that the sporophytic stage in life with root, stem, and leaves. At a maturity, some of the leaves develop spores. We call them as the sporophylls. These sporophylls on their lower surface possess sori. Each sorus possesses such bag-like structures called as sporangium, few sporangia. In each sporangia, there are spore mother cells. Diploid spore mother cells are present over there. Spore mother cells. These spore mother cells inside the sporangium undergo meiosis. They undergo meiosis. When they undergo meiosis, they produce, each one will produce 4 haploid spores. The moment the spores are formed, from diploid to haploid status is brought about, that is the point wherein the gametophytic life starts. That is the point wherein gametophytic life starts. So within this main dominant sporophytic life, on the leaves lower surface or ventral surface, inside the sporangia, these spores are produced, and these spores represent the beginning of their gametophytic life over there. At maturity, these sporangia rupture open and release the spores into the surrounding. These spores, the first cell in the life of gametophyte, if they find a suitable place, suitable conditions, they will germinate into the body which is called as prothallus. This body is called as prothallus. A prothallus structure is a mature gametophyte. If a one cell spore was a beginning part of the gametophyte, a haploid spore was the first cell in the life of gametophyte. From that cell, this multicellular body that develops, which is called as prothallus, is a mature gametophyte of these organisms. I'll show you the picture of real prothallus. How does it look? Look at this prothallus. This is the real prothallus. On its, this is the ventral surface of that prothallus that you can see here. The body of this organism, the prothallus stage of this organism, it is inconspicuous. Inconspicuous का meaning क्या है? आप conspicuous का meaning understand करो first of all. Conspicuous means prominently seen, clearly seen. Prominent shaped structures are called conspicuous, जिसे easily आप recognize कर सकते हो. उसका एक proper definite shape होता है, proper large size होती है, उसको conspicuous कहते हैं, जो easily दिख जाए, which is clearly visible. Opposite to that is inconspicuous, something which is very small in size, not fixed proper shape. Somewhat it looks like a heart shape to an extent, but by and large, no proper definite shape, very small sized. Such bodies are called inconspicuous. So it's an inconspicuous structure. Small in size. Definitely multicellular. It's not made up of one cell. It is made up of many cells. It's a multicellular structure. It is free living. Free living means what? A sporophytic plant with root, stem, and leaves. On the ventral surface of its leaves, it has bags, sorus bags, and in which had several smaller bags called sporangia, in which spore mother cells going for meiosis had produced spores, and those spores, beginning of the gametophytic life, they were liberated by that plant. In a suitable condition, those spores, unicellular structures, they were liberated from the sporophytic stage and independently in the suitable conditions on the land, if available, they will germinate into a small multicellular gametophytic body, which is called as prothallus. So we say it is free living, free from its sporophytic life. It is photosynthetic. As you can see, it is chlorophyllous, it is green in structure, so it is photosynthetic. बोलिए श्रेया.
सर ये जो पूरा प्रोथैलस है वो सिर्फ एक ही स्पोर में से ग्रो हुआ है?
Yes.
ये जो पूरा स्ट्रक्चर है
स्पोर की प्रोडक्ट है.
Okay.
ये एक हैप्लॉइड स्पोर है जिसमें से ये प्रोथैलस डेवलप होता है. So you guys can understand that it's a single cell structure. Now, am I audible or not? Because some are complaining audible and saying not audible, and others are saying audible. So I'm not clear. Am I audible or not?
સર થોડું પ્રોબ્લેમ તો છે, વચ્ચે વચ્ચે અવાજ કટ ને એવું થાય છે જ.
તમે રેકોર્ડિંગ સ્ટોપ કરો. This is the ventral side of the prothallus you can see here. Now, what is the prothallus? It is the gametophytic stage in the life of the ferns and other such pteridophytes. It is inconspicuous, apparently not clearly visible with respect to the shape and size. It's a small structure, but it is multicellular. It is free living. The spores liberated from the sporophytic body, they mature on the ground into this kind of structure, so they have their independent free life. Mostly photosynthetic because the plant, this prothallus body is green in color, cells are chlorophyllous, so it is photosynthetic structure. This is the thalloid body, not differentiated into root, stem and leaves over there. It normally grows in a cool, damp, shady places. It always prefers cool and damp, shady places. You know, a kind of theophytic life it prefers. Because of this specific restricted requirement, and it will also further require water for fertilization. This one will require water for fertilization act to release the male gamete to reach them up to female gamete. So for these two conditions, because of these two conditions, condition number one, that this stage of their life, the prothallus stage of their life, must get a cool, damp place, must have a cool, damp place for growth. And second, must require, it will be requiring water for fertilization. These two things make it difficult to survive in all parts of the earth, because all parts of the earth may not be providing these two combination, these two conditions, combination of these two conditions at a one place, difficult to get. It is mostly found in the tropical region, but difficult to found these things in other areas, because tropics have a very dense forest which can provide such cool, damp places and water also. Then it is difficult for this kind of plants to grow in all areas. This is why they have the pteridophytes have a restricted geographical distribution. The spread of pteridophytes, present generation of pteridophytes on the earth, that spread is limited and they are restricted to a very narrow geographical region. If somebody asks you present varieties of pteridophytes during the evolution of plants, why are they restricted only up to limited areas on the earth? So you can quote two reasons. It's a prothallus, the gametophytic life, always requires water for fertilization and a cool, damp, humid, shady place. Combination of such conditions are not available in all geographical regions. So very limited areas are ones where you can find them. Do you understand this fact? Yes. Is this clear what I said? Now, this one will attach itself, the prothallus will attach itself with the ground by rhizoids. And it has sex organs on it. Normally near the neck, upper side, you have a antheridia. And on the lower side, there are archegonia, antheridia and archegonia. The sex organs, respectively male and female sex organs, are present on the same prothallus. So when the prothallus, the gametophytic stage, grows properly, mature stages, it will possess male sex organs called antheridia and female sex organs called as archegonia. Let's see the same aspect in the life cycle diagram. Well, is it visible to all that mature prothallus has got antheridia and archegonia? Okay, I committed one mistake. Let me rectify this one. Near the upper part, there are archegonia. And on the lower surface, there near the rhizoid's origin point, there are the antheridia. Remember this one. I rectify the mistake I committed. I repeat. The prothallus upper part has got archegonia and lower side, ventral side, has got antheridia, the male sex organs. Now, at the time of reproduction, from here, in the same or in the nearby prothallus, the anthrozoids will be liberated from the antheridia, come in water, and through water they will reach to the nearby archegonia of a same or other nearby prothallus. After going inside the archegonium, they will fertilize the egg, and on fertilization of these two, the anthrozoid and egg, on the fertilization of anthrozoid and egg inside the archegonium, which is inside the prothallus, the zygote is formed. The zygote is a beginning stage of which life? Which phase of life? Zygote is the first cell in which phase of life? Sporophytic life. So within this prothallus, within its archegonia, there is a zygote formation. So the sporophytic life has started within the gametophytic life. There this zygote develops into an embryo. So in the same archegonium where there was a zygote formation, now there is an embryo formation. And soon this embryo develops into a young sporophyte. It develops into a young sporophyte over there. This is the young sporophyte, which is growing from prothallus. Can you make out this one? It is growing from prothallus. Try to understand, this is a very key point, very important point. अगर ये पता नहीं चला तो आगे क्लैरिटी नहीं मिलेगा आपको. नेक्स्ट 2 lines which I am going to talk about. See what happened. Please understand, at a maturity, the gametophytic stage, that is the prothallus, carried out sexual reproduction. During this sexual reproduction from the anthrozoids, what is liberated? My mistake. Sex organs, the antheridia. What was liberated? Male gametes called as anthrozoids. These anthrozoids will swim about in this water, which is necessary for fertilization, reach to the archegonia of a same prothallus or other nearby prothallus. And after that, entering in the archegonium, inside the archegonium, they fertilize the egg and form the zygote. Zygote is a diploid stage, the first cell in the life of sporophytic phase. This zygote is formed inside the archegonium, which is inside the gametophytic prothallus. Now, this zygote develops into an embryo. An embryo matures into young sporophyte. As you can see, that young sporophyte is still attached to what should I call this structure as? This black color structure from which the young sporophyte is emerging out from one of the archegonium of that. Yeah, this black color structure is the prothallus. It's the prothallus. See, this is how it will appear to be. Emergence of young prothallus. This is the natural one. Look. This is the prothallus body. And from that arises this young sporophyte. How many could make it out, could understand? How many of you could understand this one? Okay, how many of you could not understand this one? This is very interesting. The spores were liberated from this sporophyte. They gave rise to gametophytic life. And the gametes from this gametophyte are giving rise to sporophytic life, the alternation of generation here. Can you make out that alternation of generation? The gametophyte, the haploid generation. And from that emerging out this sporophytic generation over here, the young sporophyte. In your textbook and in your notes, which are printed notes given to you, there is one statement. I'll just go through that statement. You understand, try to understand this one. Zygote produces a multicellular, well-differentiated sporophyte. That is understood. The female gametophyte in these plants, they are retained on the parent sporophyte. I read it again. The female gametophyte in these plants, they are retained on the parent sporophyte for variable period. Is there anyone who could understand this line? The female gametophytes in these plants are retained on the parent sporophyte. बोलिए, जिसको भी पता है अनम्यूट करके एक्सप्लेन कीजिए. Anyone wants to explain? बोलिए. Yes, yeah, try.
यस सर, इसका मतलब ये है कि जो फीमेल गेमेटोफाइट होता है उसमें से ही वो जो न्यू स्पोरोफाइट होता है वो ग्रो करता है। वो जो फीमेल गैमेटोफाइट है वो पेरेंट प्रोथैलस से ही अटैच रहता है और उसमें से ही न्यू
नहीं, आप रीड करो, पेरेंट प्रोथैलस नहीं लिखा है, पेरेंट स्पोरोफाइट लिखा है। प्रोथैलस होता तो हम एक्सेप्ट कर लेते कि गैमेटोफाइट में से।
पेरेंट स्पोरोफाइट 2n।
तो यहाँ पे पेरेंट स्पोरोफाइट कौन सा है, आप दिखाइए।
सर दैट डार्क ग्रीन वन।
दिस वन, ये तो यंग स्पोरोफाइट है ना, अभी तो
नहीं
ग्रो
सर, ये
हुआ।
वाला जो नीचे राइजोइड्स लगे हुए हैं वो वाला है।
ये इसके बारे में बात कर रहे हैं आप?
यस सर, जो वो
ये तो
उससे जो ये
गैमेटोफाइट, बट ये तो गैमेटोफाइट है ना, आप अंडरस्टैंड कर रहे हो? ये तो
यस सर।
गैमेटोफाइट है। आप
हाँ
ऐसा
सर।
इमेजिन करो कि जैसे यहाँ पे एक प्लांट था जिसके लीव्स थे, उसके स्पोर्स में से ये डेवलप हुआ, ये था पेरेंटल स्पोरोफाइट, उसमें से निकला गैमेटोफाइट, और इस गैमेटोफाइट में से निकला ये यंग स्पोरोफाइट। अब उनकी लाइन अगर हम रीड करें तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल फीमेल गैमेटोफाइट, तो अब तो पहले तो ये बोलना चाहिए कि फीमेल गैमेटोफाइट कहां पे है यहाँ। कैन एनीवन शो मी द फीमेल गैमेटोफाइट ओवर हियर? इज देयर एनी डिस्टिंक्शन दैट इज अ मेल गैमेटोफाइट एंड फीमेल गैमेटोफाइट? यहाँ पे तो नहीं है। अच्छा, गैमेटोफाइट भी कंसीडर करते हैं कि फीमेल छोड़ो, गैमेटोफाइट के बारे में बोल रहे हैं। तो गैमेटोफाइट इन दिस प्लांट्स आर रिटेन्ड ऑन द पेरेंटल स्पोरोफाइट। ये इसके ऊपर नहीं होते हैं डिपेंडेंट ना, ये तो फ्री स्पोर्स के फॉर्म में रिलीज होके ग्रो करते हैं। So I personally believe that this line given by the textbook, by the NCERT book, it is inappropriate unless that somebody can explain to me what it is, what is the meaning of that. So I will accept it. Otherwise, for me, personal basis, I do not consider it is a correct line. So what I suggest is you cram up this line because I am not able to explain the wrong thing to you. अच्छा, आगे जाते हैं। The development of a zygote in the young embryo takes place within the female gametophyte. ये पता चल रहा है कि यहाँ पे जो आर्चिगोनियम था उसको ये फीमेल गैमेटोफाइट कहते हैं। And in that female gametophyte, यहाँ पे जाइगोट फॉर्म हुआ, वहां पे एम्ब्रियो फॉर्म हुआ, और उस एम्ब्रियो में से ये यंग स्पोरोफाइट डेवलप हुआ। So development of a zygote into young embryo took place within the female gametophyte. This event is a precursor to seed habit. This event is a precursor to seed habit, considered an important step in the evolution. क्या हुआ इस अरेंजमेंट से कि zygote developing into an embryo in female gametophyte that is called archegonium. Within the archegonium, the zygote is formed and that zygote develops into an embryo. All these events occurred within the female gametophyte. This led to development of a seed structure in a subsequent varieties of plants like gymno and angio. Pteridophytes do not have seeds. They are not seed-bearing plants. They are seedless plants, non-spermatophytic plants. And after this group, in the gymnosperms, seeds are present. So something happened during evolution that in pteridophytes, certain character appear which turn into a seed development character in the higher forms such as gymno and angio. I repeat my line. Some event, some character established in a pteridophytes became the precursor. Precursor means an event which stimulated the major event over there. So this development, the zygote into embryo occurring inside the archegonium, it was a precursor event to have the seed in the mother plant in the case of gymno and angio. अब वहां पे थोड़ा सीड का स्ट्रक्चर स्टडी करेंगे, तब वापस इस पॉइंट को डिस्कस करेंगे कि क्या कहना चाहते थे इसमें. सो बेसिकली आपको इतना याद रखना है कि फीमेल गैमेटोफाइट के अंदर ही जाइगोट का फॉर्म होना और उसमें से एम्ब्रियो का एस्टेब्लिश होना, ये कैरेक्टर जो टेरिडोफाइट्स में अपीयर हुआ है, इट इज an event which is precursor, a stimulation for the major event, that is to form a seed in case of higher plants such as gymno and angio. So that is how the life cycle progresses in them. So coming back to the life cycle, we saw that this young sporophyte is developed from this prothallus, and finally the prothallus, I mean, at that point when young sporophyte is independent, it has its own root system, it will have its own leaves to carry out photosynthesis, and it is ready to live on its own, its independent life. This structure gets degenerated and detached over there, detached and degenerated. So that gametophytic life is over, and this new sporophytic life is ready. It will develop into another such mature sporophytic stage. From the young sporophyte, it will further develop into a mature sporophyte in future. This is how from one sporophyte to several gametophyte, and from those several gametophytic prothallus, several new sporophytic mature plant with root stem and leaves appear in this manner. The interesting thing which you should have focused upon is this. Have a look. The gametophyte was so independent, spore liberated prothallus, and subsequently finally dying over here. But it was the sporophyte which was dependent, the zygote, embryo, and young sporophyte. All the three stages were growing within the prothallus, the gametophytic stage, which means these stages of sporophyte, initial one, zygote formed inside the gametophyte, embryo formed inside the gametophyte, and young sporophyte formed inside this gametophyte. They all were nourished by the gametophyte, the photosynthetic stage called gametophytic stage, prothallus. This means we can say that although the sporophyte is independent, or you can say that this is the dominant phase rather. This one is which one? Subsidiary phase. However, important feature, both were, by the way, autotrophic. This is throughout its life independent. This is partially dependent in young stages and fully independent in mature stages. आपको समझ में आया ये लास्ट लाइन? जब ये जाइगोट था, जब ये एम्ब्रियो स्टेजेस में था, जब ये यंग स्पोरोफाइट था, तब तक वो किसके ऊपर डिपेंडेंट था? इस गैमेटोफाइट के ऊपर. जब वो मैच्योर हो गया तब जाके वो गैमेटोफाइट डिटैच होके डिजेनरेट हो गया, तो उसका डिपेंडेंस, यंग स्पोरोफाइट का डिपेंडेंस उसके ऊपर से चला गया. How many of you could not understand what I said? Yes, we understand that the sporophytic stage is dominant, long-lived, very well differentiated into root stem leaves. On the other hand, gametophytic stage is subsidiary, short-lived, not prominent. It has just thalloid body. ये तो पता चल गया. Difference कहाँ पे होता है? Throughout the life, the gametophyte was independent and autotrophic. But the sporophytic life, यहाँ से यहाँ तक कैसी थी? Dependent on the gametophyte, and it was heterotrophic at that stage. It's only when it matured, detached from the thallus, prothallus, then it started living independently and in an autotrophic manner. तो ये मेंशन करना पड़ता है हमें कि partial dependence in initial stages and then becoming independent, ये मेंशन करना पड़ता है. I hope you have understood. I wish you write down these points of difference between the sporophytic and gametophytic life from the recorded video. If time available at the end, we will dictate. So this was the life of one of the member pteridophytes, gametophytic and sporophytic life, back-to-back alternation of generation I have explained to you. Have you understood? Do you have any question to ask? Jayati, boliye.
Sir, in exam we can write this life cycle that you have explained.
If asked, you have to draw and write down. If asked to draw, you draw. If asked not to draw, then no need to draw. Description, the way it is given in the textbook or in our booklet, spiral booklet, that you should follow.
Sir, because in textbook some words are and concepts, some lines are different, so it's creating confusion.
See, if you read carefully, the lines are not different. The only thing is that same lines which are there in textbook, we have compiled the same thing in our booklet, the material booklet. The only thing is that we have organized those lines. We have put them into flow chart, points, paragraphs. थोड़ा हमने उसको organize किया है. Otherwise, you can say that content wise तो 99% तो वो same होते हैं. फिर भी
So, sir,
आप
can we write that organized which is properly done?
Fine, that is okay. Nothing wrong. थोड़ा एक line extra add करते रहना का. Otherwise, it's okay if you follow these lines. अगर आप मटेरियल में से लिखते हो हमारे मटेरियल में से तो नथिंग रॉन्ग.
Okay, sir.
बट उसकी पूरी कंटेंट कॉपी करने का, फिर जब कॉपी इन द सेंस उसमें फिर कट शॉर्ट नहीं करने का, जो लिखा है उतना तो मिनिमम प्रेजेंट करना चाहिए, ऐसा मेथड. ओके. यस, एनीवन एल्स हैविंग एनी प्रॉब्लम और डाउट इन द सेम? नो, देन आई गो फॉरवर्ड. The group Pteridophyta has been divided into 4 major groups or classes. Psilopsida, one example, Xylotum. Lycopsida, examples, Lycopodium, Selaginella, etc. Sphenopsida, example, Equisetum. Pteropsida, example, Drapteris, Pteris, Edientium, etc. So that was the classification of pteridophytes into 4 major classes or 4 major groups over there: Psilopsida, Lycopsida, Sphenopsida, and Pteropsida. Anything to ask about this? Okay, no question is coming up. Now I will explain to you one life cycle, one more life cycle, and this one is from another organism under the Pteridophyta. This is the Selaginella, another member of the pteridophytes. Look at this one, the Selaginella. The body is well differentiated into root, stem, and leaves, and these leaves are microphyls. And how is it different from Nephrolepis? Look at the first point of difference. unlike the Nephrolepis, where individual leaves were sporophylls, here you can see sporophylls make a cluster. This is something which I was talking about. Now, remember I said I will explain it at the end. Remember that? These clusters of sporophylls, these leaves are normal foliar leaves. They will perform photosynthesis. They will not produce spores. But these clusters of leaves are the ones which will produce spores. So sporophylls make specialized clusters at the tip of the branch. We call them as cones. They are known as what? Cones. Male cone and female cone. यहाँ पे microsporophylls or sporophylls rather, which will produce male gametes, are called microsporophylls, and the other one known as sporophylls, which will produce female gametes or female spores rather, I should say. We call them as the macrosporophylls or megasporophylls. देखो दूसरा पॉइंट ऑफ डिफरेंस मिला आपको. In case of a Nephrolepis, sporophylls were individual separate. Here they are forming cones or strobilus. Another name for that is what? Strobilus. इसका दूसरा नेम होता है strobilus. So they are forming this cluster. That's the first point. Second point, in a Nephrolepis, spores were not differentiated into two varieties. Simply they were spores. Here the spores are differentiated into two varieties called microspores and megaspores. This characteristic is called as heterospory. What was exhibited in the case of Nephrolepis was homospory. A spore will develop into a gametophytic thallus. That's it. No male spore, no female spore, no microspore, no megaspore. That was called as a homospory. This is the homospory. Have a look at this one. Only one type of spores by the plant. That is called as homospory. And if you remember, bryophytes were homosporous. In them also there was no such varieties of two varieties of spores. But here what we can see is a heterospory. Two types of spores to be developed over here. Male spore, microspores, and female spores, megaspores. This phenomenon is identified as the heterospory. Heterospory first appeared in pteridophytes. Actually, amongst the pteridophytes, sorry. In fact, amongst the pteridophytes, there are two varieties. Some are homosporous, where spores are of similar kind. Example, Equisetum, Lycopodium, then Pteris, then Xylotum, then Edientium, Dryopteris. All these pteridophytes, you can say majority of pteridophytes produce one kind of spores. They are called as homosporous varieties of pteridophytes. On the other hand, you have few pteridophytes called as heterosporous, which produce two types of sperms, macrospores or megaspores, which are large, and microspores, and they are the male spores. They are small in size. This is seen in Selaginella and Salvinia. Selaginella and Salvinia. Achha, in this case, what happens? If you see the life cycle one more time, We said that this is the Selaginella plant sporophytic stage with root stem leaves. At a maturity, leaves develop spores, so they are called sporophylls. One more thing, sporophylls are not individual isolated leaves, they are the clusters, so we call them as the cones. Those sporophylls which produce microspore, because these are heterosporous variety, they have two types of spores to be produced, microspores and megaspores. Microspores are produced on microsporophylls, megaspores are produced on megasporophylls. जिस तो माइक्रोस्पोर्स का क्लस्टर, माइक्रोस्पोरोफिल्स का क्लस्टर उसको मेल कोन कहते हैं, मेगास्पोरोफिल्स के क्लस्टर्स को फीमेल कोन कहते हैं. So male cone, female cone. Male cone is a cluster of microsporophylls in which in the microsporangia, the microspore mother cells going through meiosis produce microspores. दूसरा है फीमेल कोन जिसमें मेगास्पोरोफिल्स के अंदर, मेगास्पोरेंजियम के अंदर मेगास्पोर मदर सेल्स के मियोसिस से प्रोड्यूस होते हैं मेगास्पोर्स. Both these haploid spores liberated in nature, large in number. वहां पे megaspores develop into female prothallus and microspores develop into male prothallus. देखिए इसका गैमेटोफाइटिक स्टेज यूनिसेक्सुअल है, ये बाइसेक्सुअल था स्पोरोफाइटिक स्टेज, बट ये यूनिसेक्सुअल है. Female prothallus and male prothallus are distinct over there. तो ये डायोशियस है, यूनिसेक्सुअल है, इसका गैमेटोफाइटिक स्टेज. अच्छा, फीमेल प्रोथैलस के ऊपर आर्चिगोनिया है और मेल प्रोथैलस के ऊपर एंथ्रीडिया है. At the time of reproduction, same procedure, that from the antheridia, the male gametes called anthrozoids shall be liberated, will reach up to the nearby female prothallus, enter into archigonia, fertilize the egg, form the zygote. The moment there is a zygote formation, which is the first cell formed over there? Which is the first cell formed over there? That zygote, that is the first cell of sporophytic life. It will develop into what? Diploid embryo. Where are this zygote and diploid embryo are developed? Inside the archegonium. And where is that archegonium? In the female prothallus. Male prothalli तो anthrozoid release के बाद degenerate हो जाते हैं. It's the female prothalli with archegonia. They develop the zygote and embryo and subsequently young sporophyte from that. और जैसे ही young sporophyte independent हो जाता है, वो जिसमें से डेवलप होता है, उस फीमेल प्रोथैलस का भी सेपरेशन होके डीजेनरेशन हो जाता है, and again another life begins over there. How many of you can understand? I showed you the life cycle of one homosporous pteridophyte, that is Nephrolepis, and another one heterosporous pteridophyte, that is the Selaginella. Do you understand this? I give you a chance to ask a question so that we can clarify your doubts. You all must go through these recorded videos to understand this cycle correctly. Otherwise, there will be so many points which you will not be able to understand if you read it one more time from the textbook or material. Clarity नहीं रहेगी. तो एक बार फिर से ये lecture को, recorded lecture को देख लें. Okay? Madam, stop the recording. That's all about the pteridophytes. We have concluded it. Now it's a time for question answer.